Hi, this is Pat McCarthy from McCarthy Performance. This video is going to contain pin fitting and assembling the 565 pistons. So that's what this video will be. Thank you for watching. Ooh. There were some minor scratches in the beams, so I hit them with a buffer, buffed them back. You always want to make sure that the bevel or the washer goes to the head of the bowl. Okay, we're going to start hanging the pistons on the rods, hopefully. Everything goes right. Everything's well oiled. Check my clearances to make sure that everything clears. Everything looks good. Can slide in and out easily. We want to make sure we'd rather have them a little bit bigger than too tight, even though they're aluminum, because I know where this engine's going and I know exactly what they're doing with it. It's going to get the living hell beat out of it. Better to be a little loose than too damn tight. This is going to be using a very heavy oil in this engine, so look for my other tool. There we go. I like to put both of them in on one side. That way you don't get, you know, if you put one on each side and you answer the phone or something and you don't know where you were, or you have to go back and check, and I just assume put both of them in at the same time. Pin wants to slide out, but it ain't got far to go, so we'll stick them both in. On one side and then move to the other. I just want to make sure they're well seated. Sometimes I just took an engine apart somebody else built, and they didn't have the spiral locks all the way seated into the groove. And you got to be careful. I like to push down on them, make sure they're all the way home, and they are. So to this side, because you always want to make sure that the tangs on a big black Chevrolet go to the out to the oil pan, and you know the big radius is always going to go towards the cheek of the crank or the counterweight, closest to the counterweight. one's already set to go, and gotta do 7 more of them. Okay, the rods are all hung on the pistons. We ran out of spiral locks, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to mention a few things to maybe some people that don't know. The spiral locks, you know, if you have a question, you buy a set of used pistons and you know who made them, call them, buy the spiral locks from them. That'll save you some trouble. There's a couple different styles of spiral locks. Now these are 042, 42,000s. That's what this set took for spiral locks, 2 on each side. So I had some in stock, and they're pretty much the same from company to company in a 42. You get into a 42, and that's basically, it's got one wind in it. I'm going to call that, just say one wind. That'll make it easier. If you count this and this one, it's 3. Well, if you count that one, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got 4 winds. So however you want to look at it, 2 complete winds in the middle, or completely 4, and this one's 3. you don't want to put one of these where one of these should go, or two of these should go, or vice versa. The easiest thing is don't mix them up. And I can tell you who pretty much uses these all the time, the piston manufacturer, but I don't want to tell you that because I don't want you to assume that these are all the same. They're not. You get into these clips, which we called, I believe, True Arcs. And a lot of the older pistons use these, but there's a piston company that on their lower dollar forged pistons, they use these. These usually come, they usually use two of these. And you always want to put the sharp edge facing out. The rolled over edge or the stamped edge would be smooth and rounded off a little bit. You want that towards the wrist pin. That's how I do it. If you do it differently, great, but that's the way you should do it. So that's that style there. And then you got these little beauties here. These are just round wire locks, and a lot of people are going this way. When you put these in, you want to make sure they're seated. And usually what I do is I'll take a telephone book or an old manual that you don't like. Don't use a good magazine or anything, or a good manual. Use something that is somewhat soft. You will want to put this spiral lock in here, and I have a little driver, and you wrap it. You want to make sure that these are fully seated. The wrist pins on these are not flat. There's an over-exaggeration, but it's right here. They're not going to be flat like that. That's a big wrist pin. It's out of a John Deere. It's not going to be flat for them. They're going to have a little bit of a bevel on them, so you want to make sure that this lock is seated in there, the round wire lock. And these, don't ask me if there's any tricks on these. There's probably about a half a dozen of these stuck up in the ceiling into the insulation, because when these things come out, they come out with vengeance. And make sure you wear your safety glasses unless you want to visit your eye doctor. And then your Speed Pros and your lower dollar pistons, probably Hyperdetectic, will have this type of lock here. And I'm not going to tell you which ones you can interchange, because, if you have a question, you should talk to the piston manufacturer. You can buy the locks directly from them. Do that. These are usually, quite honestly, these are just a generic lock. A lot of companies use these, so you can buy these, but you want to make sure that you know for 100% that these are the locks. You fail to do that, boy, bad things will happen, and they'll happen quick. But these are the only ones that you really should seat. And it's not a big deal, but it's just I'll take a rubber mallet and my tool, and like I said, I'll put it on a book or a magazine, and I'll just wrap it one way, and then I'll flip it around, or I'll wrap it the other way. Make sure these clips are in, because if one of them things pops out and it ain't fully seated, well, you know what the wrist pin's going to do to the cylinder wall. So that's it on this video. Thanks for watching. We'll probably be doing some prep work on the dart block for the 565 blower engine, and then we'll start assembling the bottom end, and hopefully that'll start happening next week. So thank you for watching.